Today, we are joined by entrepreneur, self-publishing expert guru. You may have seen him in Forbes, Entrepreneur, Huffington Post. He's the creator of Kindlepreneurcom. He is the creator of Rocket self-publishing software and also host of the book marketing show. Dave Chesson, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks so much for having me.
Dave, it's my pleasure. I can't tell you how impressed I am with everything you've built. It's absolutely phenomenal. And I really want to get into the nuts and bolts of book publishing. But before we do that, I want to take a step back, go back to the future, Doc Brown style, DeLorean style. Give us an entryway into how you got started with the entrepreneurship. Did you just go all in full time, or were you an after hours entrepreneur?
No, I was an after hours entrepreneur. Actually, before hours was my way. I'd get up at 4 a.m. every morning before I went into work. And I would basically, that was my devoted time. It was the only time that I would get just to myself. I wouldn't have kids, coming up. Nobody's on social media. It was just my time. And so I was able to build up the career while also serving in the US Navy at the same time.
Oh, amazing. Thank you for your service. It's
Oh, it was fun.
great. Yeah, that's fair enough. Well, I really appreciate that. So you're in the Navy, you've got kids. How did you actually find the time to work on your side hustle? And what was your first side hustle?
Yeah, well, the big thing was that, when you've got a 9 to 5 job and you have children, which of course, you don't want to shirk the responsibilities, to do one thing and then go to another. So instead, what I did was I just said, all right, well, I'll just cut out sleep. I
Yeah.
mean, that's a big part of it. I even trained myself where I did like a reverse Pavlov's dog, where I wouldn't allow myself to have coffee for the day unless I had gotten up at 4 to actually start my work. And that just kind of helped. That allowed me to still be a family man. But what I ended up doing was I actually cut out all of Netflix. Well,
Hmm.
Netflix was just starting up back then, and no more movie watching. There was all these. What I would do is once the kids went to bed, bam, my head would hit the pillow. So I'd still get 7 to 8 hours of sleep. But when you start cutting out all these little extra things, that allows you to really build a career. For me, I really got into search engine optimization and creating niche websites. That for me fit my lifestyle and kind of my thought process. I really love the science and art behind SEO. But on top of that, too, what's beautiful about it is that, and you'll see from all of my beginnings, was I couldn't afford to have some kind of side gig that required my time at specific times.
Hmm.
I needed to be able to do something where I could build it on the side and it didn't require me to come back to it at certain points. Because I would go out to sea. I was stationed in Korea and I'd go out to sea on a South Korean warship. I can't answer emails. I can't, fulfill orders. I can't respond to support. So my lifestyle needed to be something that didn't require me.
Yeah, so I love this idea of putting your income on autopilot, right? It's kind of that dream that most people have. How did you actually get into creating these niche websites? And I assume that you're monetizing them via affiliate links, affiliate marketing. That's a really popular way of doing it. Did you just fall into that, or was that strategic on your side, Dave?
It's really a whole series of failures,
Mm,
and just never giving up. The first time, in truth, I was trying to find something and I was really stumbling. And I look back at it and I always remember that I would see all these stories of these people that did it, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I did this, this, this." I'm like, "Man, this is never going to be me." But I kept trying, and one day I decided I bought this book. It was titled like "How to Make Money Online," and it was by somebody that my wife followed. And I'm like, "All right, I'm just going to do everything this guy says." And I did it. And it was basically setting up this like WordPress website and then, putting some advertisements on it and some affiliate links on it. And then for him, he was very anti SEO actually. He created Facebook ads back when the Facebook ads were on the
yeah.
right side, only on the right side. And then you would drive it there. Well, I did that and I ended up making $1. Like we're talking like 2 straight months of work and I got $1. I think that was kind of a major difference maker for me, was that when I saw the dollar, I was like, wow, I created $1 out of thin air. I was actually impressed. I was just excited. Um, Whereas a lot of people would have been really ticked off. I mean, to spend all that time to get $1. So the next time I did it, this time I was like, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I disliked, I don't like to use the word hate. I disliked immensely creating advertisement. That was just not my thing.
Mm.
So then I started to look at SEO and I created this website called freegameninjas.com because I thought, oh, I'm going to help people with games. Uh, and then that failed miserably too. But I made $7, So hey, 7x. And then you just kind of see the series going on. And it wasn't until like maybe the fourth project where I really started to see some legit success. And I started saying to myself, okay, great. if I recreate this website, this kind of like, I'm going to have to make like 100 of them in order to make enough income to support my family and get out of the military. I was like, all right, so either I make 100 websites like this or I find a way to get more money out of it. And so what I thought was, all right, why don't I create my own product and try to sell it on these websites? And that's what actually led me towards writing books. And so I started asking myself, well, how does Amazon work? Just like I asked about Google. And why does Amazon choose that book over this one? And then I started using kind of my Google SEO brain towards Amazon. And then I started writing these books and coupling it with my niche websites and just understanding how Amazon works. Those books completely replaced my naval income. And that was a big jump to get me out of the 9 to 5 and to do this full time.
Love it. Hey, Mark here. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. Let YouTube know you're enjoying this video. Let me know you're enjoying this video. All right, let's get back into this episode. Love it. So I want to back up because you hit on a lot of really important points there, because I think a lot of people get into their side hustle or they get sold this dream of quit your 9 to 5 ASAP, you're good to go. But that first dollar is actually difficult to make. It's not
Yeah.
it's not easy. And for everyone on YouTube here, do fail learn is on my billboard, on my whiteboard behind me, because that's what it is. And I love that story, Dave, about making the mistakes, learning from them, and just continuous improvement. But I'm also kind of curious as well, why get into writing books? Because I would think that the websites and the affiliate links would that's a really popular thing. It's a hot item. But with more people going towards video and podcasting, why focus in on the books at that time?
Well, a lot of the niche websites that I was focusing on was like how to, like learning
Yeah.
kinds. It wasn't a lifestyle blog, it wasn't a news blog. It was just centered around learning something, from whether it was language learning or a specific, medical aspect. And I thought, I was like, well, okay, if people are turning to Google to learn on this, maybe people go to Amazon to get a book on it. Because
Yeah.
let's think about it this way, right? If you really want to learn how to do something, are you going to get it from one blog post? And if this is a learning component that really adds something to your life, you're going to want a full book. So what if I were to basically to take the entire website that I wrote, because there's 50 plus blog posts or whatever, and I compiled it all into a book. Now, some people could say, yeah, but you could get it for free on his website. But that's not what people want. They want ease, and
Mm.
if between $3 to $9 or so to have it laid out, so you're not having to click around and you get it written from point to point instead of blog post to blog post with, you know, intros and conclusions and
Yeah.
jagged information. No, $3 is totally worth it. And so now I started using my websites as a launchpad. You come here, you get some great information. And oh, by the way, you want the full gist? You want to get this benefit? Go get the book. And another really good component for me too was when I went to Amazon and I did my research, I found that people really were going to Amazon to search for books already.
Mm.
So if I have the Google traffic and I have the Amazon traffic and I see there's an existing market, it's absolutely worth the time to sit down and write that book, because my first book still to this day is bringing in about $2,000 a month every month. And it's, what is that, like 7 years? Like,
Wow.
that's awesome to me. So
That's
even
amazing.
to this day.
I mean, because I think so many people get caught up in, oh, I just need to make a better ad. I need to create a better mousetrap. I need to A/B testing. But I love the idea of leveraging search engine. It's been really successful for me on YouTube. I'm getting a lot of views on YouTube just organically through search engine optimization. It's a really powerful thing if you can hone in on it, if you have the right tools, which I want to talk about here in just a moment. And of course, we're talking to Dave Chesson from Kindlepreneurcom, where you can kind of learn all these ins and outs about book publishing. What was the name of that first book, by the way, Dave?
It was Language Learning 101.
Language Learning 101.
Nope.
Awesome. Really cool. So I'm also curious, right? Historically, it's been difficult to get books out there because you have to go to a publisher. You need to get like a commitment for tons of money or tons of reads. But now we can self-publish, right? Is this something that anyone and everyone can and should be doing here in 2020 and beyond?
It's definitely something everybody can do. Whether everybody should, that really depends on the person. I'll be the first to tell you though. When I first started, I was probably one of the worst writers. I've had dyslexia my entire life, and I've always looked at writing as probably one of my greatest weaknesses. Now, after years and years of writing, it's like practice, and you get better and better over time. But maybe writing a book is not the thing for you. And if that's the case, then, don't
Yeah, I
don't
mean,
don't
like
start climbing that Mount Everest.
for me, one of my challenges is it's kind of one of those bucket list type things. Like I want to have a book published. I want to be, I want to have a book, but at the same time, I'm not particularly passionate about writing.
Right.
So is there any way to kind of merge those together so that I can actually get to my goal without having to write hundreds of if not thousands of words?
Yeah, I could probably answer that with a good story. There was a lawyer, and I'm not allowed to give the name or the location, but there was a lawyer who was thinking about writing a book, and what he was, you know, it was one of those things where again it's on the checklist. But here's where it went even further. Basically, this lawyer specialized in drunk driving, like a drunk driver representing drunk drivers,
I was going to
and
say that's an interesting specialty. I'm a drunk driver by trade.
yeah, that's right. Let me tell you, every other day. Uh, so anyways, so the key was is that he always had his clients come in, and the first thing they would want to ask is, "What's my life going to look like? How does this start?"
Yeah.
Now he had pamphlets, he had information, he had notes, he had all these things that he'd given over time. And finally, he decided, well, what if I took all those notes together and I got my paralegal to, for his case, he got his paralegal to put it all together, and then he kind of, you know, edit it, and voila, it was good to go.
Wow.
But here's the thing, though. This is what happened for the lawyer. Now, every time a potential client comes in, because let's face it, they kind of shop around and they check their
Yeah.
which lawyer they're going to have. Instead of handing a business card or handing a pamphlet like everybody else does, he hands a book to them, a book that provides value. Now he really sticks out. But on top of that, with the way that Amazon works and the fact that there's 14,000 categories in the Amazon store, and you just need to be the bestseller in a particular category to get a bestseller status, that lawyer was able to get bestseller status and then some. And so on his resume, he's a best-selling author that specializes in,
Mm.
life after drunk driving. You've got his physical book. You're not going to throw that in the trash like you would a business card. You're probably going to read it. And again, he's getting that benefit. Now, what happens for him is he's crushing it in the market. He's always converting. The book has been instrumental. He's also a lead speaker in the area, always called in. Either it's a MAD program, which still exists.
Yep.
If it's the police station, because he's become the authority. He was able to completely stick out in the crowd. And all it started with was just collecting his notes.
Love that. So that's a phenomenal story because I'm with you there. It really gives you an extra layer of credibility when you are a Amazon best sellers. And I definitely want to get into that. And I also love the idea, like I'm creating tons and tons of video content that's all transcripted out. So I love the idea of maybe hiring someone to take the transcripts, to take the value from the video and try to put it into words, and I can like go in and kind of clean it up. So that's a very interesting way to think about it. Really cool. Really cool. I'm also curious if I'm saying, okay, Dave, I'm all in. I'm going to start my book. This is going to happen. Do I need to have any sort of like budget in mind of what it's actually going to cost for me to put my book on the Amazon shelf?
Yeah, there's definitely a budget that should be in mind. There's ways to get around it, and there's an increase in, shall we say, the instability of your book. So, what
Okay.
I would say is, say you have a finite dollar amount in mind. I'd put a majority of that money towards your cover. Uh, Fact of the matter is, people judge a book by its cover. You could write an amazing book, and if your cover looks like you used, word art or something like that, or some horrible, photography thing or whatever, nobody's going to buy it. All of your marketing efforts, all of it goes right down the drain, and so all that money is gone. Your wasted efforts in editing. So I'm gonna bang the desk here, and I'm gonna tell everybody you really need to get your cover down. After that, you can get away with not hiring an editor. I don't recommend it, but if you do decide that you want to cut out the editor cost, make sure that you read it multiple times. Your spouse reads it. One or two other people will read it. And so that way, at least you're going to correct some of the spelling issues. But are they going to give you professional advice? No, to the point of
Yeah.
like, let's alter this or change this. After that, though, the costs are really dependent on how much you want to push it.
So like,
For you, you
give me a low end and a high end.
I would say a good average might be like $1,000.
Okay.
Okay. And I would say that's a really good cover. You can get a great pre-made cover for a lot cheaper than that, maybe $300. But we'll say 500 for an upper end one. Editors, depending on the length of your book and whether or not you want to go with somebody really big or somebody who's kind of starting off, you can spend about $300 on editing, or you could cut that out. And then whatever you have left, you can use towards your marketing efforts, like doing Amazon ads, Facebook ads, paying promotion sites. There are a whole bunch of those out there. You could use the free book promotion sites as well. And I think that really gives you more than enough. So answering that question, I'd say the low end is probably 500. A good average is 1,000, and some people go up to like 10,000. But they've got the backing; they know they're going to get their money back. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's extremely reasonable to think that I could accomplish a book, potentially be a bestseller. Of course, we're talking with Dave Chesson here, Kindlepreneur.com. He's got tons of blog articles there. It's going to really help you get yourself. I love also on the website, you've got this start here button, and it lays it all out, start to finish.
yeah,
It's
that was talking with my executive assistant on like the number one question that we always got, which is where do I begin? What do I do? And so right there on the nav bar is a start here, and it's what I look at that page as is if I wrote, which I've chosen not to write a book on book marketing because the whole entire website's there, um, and I didn't want to like just kind of recast it.
mhm.
So what that page is my table of contents to the book I would have published on Amazon. And many of those links point to some of my articles, tools, videos, or podcast interviews that are lesson by lesson. And some of them point to other people's information because that person wrote a better article than me, or that person covered it better than me. So
Sure.
just go there, read that. But all that together will give you every phase from before you start writing, when you start writing, before you go to publish, after you publish, and then how do you build it for long term. Those are the different phases.
Love it. Love it. I'm also curious. I want to talk a little bit more about tools here because when using Amazon, the key to Amazon, right, is leveraging the actual search engine itself, leveraging keywords and whatnot. What are like three key takeaways to actually having success on the Amazon platform?
Yeah, when choosing Amazon keywords, the big thing is you want to choose words that people type into Amazon. You also want words where people actually buy stuff on Amazon from those keywords, and then finally, that the competition isn't so great that you can't get in front of people. So typing, choosing words that people type in and which ones they actually use to buy, that's a really bit important thing. Like say for example, I start off and I type into Amazon fantasy book. What are the chances Amazon's going to show me the perfect fantasy book, right? Probably slim to none.
Yeah.
And then I look at the search term and I'm like, oh, okay, let me change it up. And then I'll add something to the end of it. Fantasy book, elf war. No, no, maybe not elf war. Okay, how about dragon and elves? And we keep doing this. We're actually conditioned on Amazon to just add to this phrase we put into Amazon and keep changing it until it finally shows us something. On Google, we're kind of spoiled. We put something in there, and usually we find it on the first page, and we don't have to really edit our search term. So understanding what it is that people type in Amazon is one thing, but to know which ones they end up buying on is another part.
Mm,
And then when you have these words, you don't want to have to go. Say, for example, it is fantasy book. Good luck convincing Amazon to put you at the top of that, right? So when you know these three things, you can create more powerful opportunities to convince Amazon to not only show your book, but to show your book to the right people. And when you prove to Amazon that your book makes them money because it actually sells when they show to customers, that's when they're not only going to put you at the top of search results, they're actually going to put you in even more search results and get your book in front of more shoppers. And they're just going to keep doing that until your book goes beyond where it should be and the sales start tipping. So Amazon's working to make it. I mean, the ultimate purpose of Amazon's search bar is to make Amazon more money, put the right product in
yeah.
front of the right customer. So
Yeah, I mean that's Jeff Bezos' thing. Give the customer the best experience possible, and I think that's something we can all strive for. The key here, though, is I think at level one, I'm thinking, okay, well, I want to devise my book. I want to think of a great name. I'm just going to go to Amazon and start typing in words and see where that brings me. But I think you and I both know that you definitely need some tools. On YouTube, for example, second largest search engine on the planet, I use tools to boost out my videos so that I reach more people. And I'm now at, I think, 175,000 views over there. Wouldn't have been possible, absolutely wouldn't have been possible without a spreadsheet and a Word document just typing in different keyword results. What are the best tools that we can use as potential Amazon sellers?
yeah, I'm a bit biased, but Publisher Rocket is by far number one. I actually designed it to answer all those questions. Back in the day, There was a couple of programs that were out there like Katie Spy and Kindle Samurai, and they kind of did some of the things we talked about. They would tell you these are words people type in, but that was about it. Um, and a lot of them were broken. So I got it together a software development team, and we basically developed Publisher Rocket, and it's got 4 features from helping you choose your Kindle keywords, helping you to choose your categories and your Amazon ads keywords, as well as giving you insight into how other books are doing. It's really cool. We were actually just listed by MarketWatch as one of the top 10 international book marketing companies.
Wow.
So yeah, really jazzed about that.
That's a big deal. And again, I cannot tell you the difference it makes having the right software. It's listen, a computer is going to be able to go through all the data easier than you or your mom can. Trust me on that one. So what's the monthly cost for that program, Dave?
Actually, it's just a one-time fee of $97. I'm not a fan of subscriptions. I
Okay.
never have been.
Okay. One
Um,
one time, that's not annual, that's lifetime.
It's lifetime. Yep, and
Awesome.
all upgrades, updates, everything. When we first came out with it, like I said, we only had the keyword feature and the competition analyzer, and that was it. And my team is pumping out new updates every month. We just came out with the UK market this past month, and we have new changes on our keyword feature to add even more. We're going to be adding historical data too, so you can actually see changes in categories and in the book markets and see which ones are trending up and down, and that sort of thing. So
Love it, love it. I'll put a link below for all the listeners, viewers, whatnot, so you can check out Rocket self-publishing software. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. All right, cool, Dave. I'm also curious here because you've got several successful businesses. You've got books that are bringing in all this passive revenue, passive income. Why the heck are we sitting here today talking on a podcast? Why is that important to you?
well, it's kind of funny is when we go back to the beginning part of this, and I remember when I was just starting and I kept thinking, you hear everybody talk about, that they made money. And I remember thinking, maybe if I got lucky, I'll be one of those people. I thought it was kind of like a luck thing, like that person got lucky. And I mean, I was going to work and I was going to work hard because I really enjoyed what I was doing and I really wanted that opportunity to be home. I figured with just hard work and effort, I could probably at least get enough to cover my salary and be home with my family.
Yeah.
Um, so I could do that. But then the key is that just kind of sticking with it and learning was an instrumental part of where I got to where I was. But here's the thing. If it wasn't for all the other people that I listened to, that I learned from, the podcast episodes that I listened to, like for example, my favorite way back in the day when I first started was episode 6 of Smart Passive Income,
Yeah.
by Pat Flynn. Episode 6 was the one that I got in on, and I used to listen to it every time he came out with a new episode. And I was able to be a podcast guest on his a year and a half ago or so, but it was just like full circle, to go from interesting, smart, passive income, and then to be a guest. So to me, it really means a lot to be able to be here and speak because you never know who's going to hear this and take that advice and how much it's going to change their lives. I've told Pat many a times, every time we have a drink together, I'm just like, man, you have no idea how much you changed my life, buddy. And so I hope that people you can either learn from my mistakes and get there faster.
Yeah, Pat is awesome, awesome. There's a lot of gurus out there, but Pat is definitely a legit guy delivering tons of value. He was also on the show, the After Hours Entrepreneur as well, just divulging tons and tons of great information. Really, really great stuff. And so, I mean, listen, I'm a huge believer in podcasts because it allows you to reach more people, allows you to build your authority, kind of similarly to a book. Is that something that authors should be doing as well? Hey, I'm publishing my book. Let's go ahead and try to schedule times on podcasts. Is that a good strategy?
It can be. One of the things that I talk to a lot of authors, or my number one, shall we say, marketing recommendation for authors is choose a couple of things and do them really well. What
Mhm.
ends up killing a lot of momentum is everybody dabbles in everything. Okay, this could be from building your blog, this could be building your podcast, this could be building your author, platform, whatever it is. But they end up hearing all these different things. Oh, I should be on Facebook. Oh, let me go create a Facebook page. Oh, I should do Twitter because everybody's doing Twitter and there's hashtags. And oh, Pinterest is awesome. And oh man, he talked about help a reporter out. Hera, I should do that because then I can be on these news things. And oh, podcast, that too. Man, I could go on for another 10 minutes. But here's the thing: everybody tries to do them all, and when you do them all, you don't do anything well. And
Mm.
in the truth of the matter is, in this, the market is crowded. It's always been crowded. When I first got in, I thought it was crowded. It's always going to be crowded. But the key is though, is that if you do these things and you just kind of dabble in them, you're never going to do it well enough to get above the crowd and be heard. Okay. You can't dabble in SEO and expect to see results. You can't dabble in Facebook ads and expect to see great ROIs. Yes, there are some lottery ticket winners out there, that just get lucky and that'll happen. But I tell people that if you really hunker down and you do a couple things really well, you're going to see better ROI on your efforts. Otherwise, you're just going to keep pivoting and pivoting. And when you do that, you just keep, going around in circles,
Yeah.
and that can just be draining and demoralizing. And that's why a lot of people give up and quit. So
This is
pick a couple things and hit it hard.
this is something that comes up a lot on the After Hours Entrepreneur because, like you're saying, if you specialize in one thing and do it very, very well, it's much easier to stand out rather than doing everything decently. I struggle with this too, though, right? Because it seems like there's always a new trend, there's always something new that's happening. And one of the best ways to be successful on a platform is to be one of the early adopters. Do you devote any percentage of your time to trying new things?
Well, I mean, business is always new things. I mean, in marketing, no, but for example, I have 17 people on my team.
Wow.
About 2 years ago, my new thing was, which was like 4 people at the time, was learning about scaling. Every business has a hurdle, and so I'm not stagnant, never stagnant. I'm always adapting, but I'm not always hunting for a shiny object in that
Yeah, the next.
respect. And if you really do something well, we all know the 80/20 rule. Um, just kind of stick with that. Is Google gonna go away? Is search traffic gonna go away? No. There are some new tactics always in that one. But the key is that people will say, "Well, Dave, I see you in YouTube. I see you have a podcast. I see you have courses. There's a whole bunch of other businesses that I'm involved in that are outside of book marketing. How do you do it?" Well, I don't dabble in those things. I hired people to do
Yeah, I
it
have a
for me.
team.
Yeah, I have a team. There's no way I'd be able to get my YouTube videos out if it wasn't for my video editor, who makes it look awesome, gets it on YouTube, and works the YouTube SEO for me.
Yeah.
Great. We have a Facebook page. It's I'm not a Facebook guy. I have a Facebook profile for my family and friends, and that's how I use it. Although I'm blocking the news feed. Good Lord.
It's
Social media is terrible. Um, but yeah, that's just not my shtick. I hired people that help me with that. So when you look at these authorities or these people that you're looking up to and you see them everywhere, that's because they have
yeah.
people that are helping them to be everywhere. But they didn't start that way. They probably started with one or two things that really got them going.
Yeah, great words of advice. I've got 4 team members that are helping with the production of this show and social media because, like you said, it's impossible to be everywhere. I tend to engage with people on each platform. So if somebody DMs me on Instagram or wants to connect, sure, we'll have a conversation. But I'm not as active posting because it's so hard. There's always something new coming out. You're always posting everywhere, and it's just this phone is probably one of the biggest detractors from your productivity. I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah, well, I'll be the first to tell people that I'm not good at social media. That's just not my thing. And you don't
Sure.
have to be. You don't have to be in this digital age. I can be proof of that 100%. I use it for family. I have my Instagram account, which we connected on, and you'll see that all my pictures are with me and my kids, and me just doing my thing. There's not much anything marketing on there, but that's just how I choose to run business. So let that be a lesson to anybody that you do not have to be on social media. The key is that I don't try to be on my social media because I just don't know how to do it right. It
Hmm.
doesn't come across natural when I'm trying to, add in my marketing efforts. It doesn't mean you can't succeed business wise on social media. Of course you can, but
Right.
you don't have to be.
Yeah, no, words of wisdom from Dave Chesson here, creator of the Kindlepreneur Rocket self-publishing software. Just really, really great stuff. And congratulations on all your success because that's the goal. And I just want to kind of go back. Everyone that maybe doesn't recall what we were talking about in the beginning. Dave didn't just wake up one day and he was here. He grinded. He worked hard to get here. So that's really, really, it's really awesome. Congratulations. Before I let you go here, Dave, let me just hit you with a couple rapid fire questions. If you were to wake up in the morning, there was only one thing you could do for the day, one business task, what would you do?
Clear my email.
Okay, like
Not
it.
what you were looking forward to.
It's actually a common answer, believe it or not. If you could only have one app on your phone, what would it be?
I would have to say, my email. That's it.
Okay. What is a must-have business item that everyone should have for less than 50 bucks?
A subscription to Audible.
I like that. That was John Lee Dumas's answer as well. So you're in good company there.
That's a good
And
dude.
yeah,
Go
really,
military.
yep, yep, great, really, really great guy. Final question: if you had 10 seconds with yourself 10 years ago, what would you say?
You don't have to do everything in the first year.
Hmm.
Yeah, and just to add to that too, one of my favorite quotes that I've ever heard is, "We seem to overestimate what we can do in 1 year, but we always underestimate what we can do in 5."
Dave said it. I agree with it. Dave, thanks so much.
Yeah, no problem, and thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for watching. I'm glad you enjoyed this episode. I've got several other episodes right here for you. Smash one of these videos to make sure that you don't miss out on the tips, tools, and tactics of industry experts. Let's take that side hustle full time. Smash one of these links.